Would you believe a family dog could bite someone in the middle of breakfast, only to be hailed as a hero just hours later? It's not a villain, not a mistake, but a silent guardian who sensed something no one else did, not even the parents, not even the nanny holding the spoon, not even the child herself, and certainly not the doctors who examined her the night before. This is not the kind of story you expect to hear in a peaceful little town like Maplebrook, where life is soft and slow and safe, where neighbors wave over white fences and kids ride bikes past flower-lined streets. But what happened in the Harper? A household that bright Sunday morning would change the way everyone in that town looked at dogs forever. Especially one dog, a German shepherd named Coda, who had never growled at a soul in his life, who had been with the Harpers since he was a pup, who had walked beside their newborn's crib every night for months, and slept by the door like a sentinel, eyes half closed but ears always listening. And it all started just like any other morning, sunlight pouring into the kitchen, bird song slipping through the open window, the smell of oatmeal and bananas on the stove, a baby in her high chair giggling as she banged her spoon against the tray, her curly blonde hair catching the light like a halo, her mother, Ava Harper, smiling sleepily as she sipped her coffee and checked the weather on her phone, and the new nanny, Lisa, humming a soft tune as she mashed up bits of fruit in a bowl, soft hands stirring gently, voice sweet and calm. Just another day in their well-kept routine, except something was off. Something that couldn't be seen or explained or measured. Something only Coda noticed, because Coda wasn't acting like himself that morning. Pacing back and forth between the baby and the nanny, ears perked, tail low, eyes fixed on the food. Bowl in a way that made Ava chuckle at first, thinking maybe he just wanted a taste, but Coda didn't whine or bark or beg. He just stared, unmoving, until Lisa brought the spoon to the baby's mouth, and that's when everything exploded into motion. Coda leaping across the room with a speed Ava didn't know he had, knocking the bowl from Lisa's hand and growling so fiercely that the spoon clattered to the floor. Oatmeal splattering across the kitchen tiles, the baby crying in shock. Lisa screaming as Coda bit into her forearm, not deep enough to break bone, but enough to bruise, enough to scare, enough to cause Ava to drop her mug and scream for her husband, who came running from the hallway in time to see Coda backing away, ears flat, eyes wide, as if he knew what he'd done was wrong, or maybe just misunderstood. The room frozen in. Chaos, oatmeal on the baby's cheeks, glass on the floor, Lisa sobbing and clutching her arm as her sleeve darkened with blood. And in the silence that followed, something inside Ava shifted, because Coda had never, ever acted this way. And he wasn't looking at Lisa anymore. He was looking at the food, or more specifically, the spoon. And without a word, Ava stepped over the broken mug and picked up what was left of it. The handle bent, the tip smeared with something that didn't quite look like banana, something that looked metallic, maybe grayish, maybe chemical, and suddenly her hands were trembling. Suddenly the warm little kitchen didn't feel safe anymore, and she looked at Lisa, whose face was pale and confused. Maybe scared, maybe guilty, maybe something else, and before anyone could speak, Ava told her husband to take the baby and the dog to the car. Now, right now. And then she dialed 911 with shaking fingers, her voice calm but cracking as she told the dispatcher there had been an incident, that she needed someone to test what was in her baby's food, and that no, she didn't think it was an accident. And yes, there had been a bite, but please bring someone who knows what dogs know, because her dog had just bitten someone for the first time in his life. And maybe that wasn't the crime everyone thought it was. Maybe it was the clue. And outside, Coda sat silently in the back seat of the car, watching the house with unblinking eyes, as if waiting for someone to realize what he already knew. And the baby, wrapped in her father's arms, whimpered once and fell asleep against his shoulder, safe, for now, because of a bite that would soon make headlines across the country. A bite that wasn't savage or wild or unpredictable, but deliberate and calculated, and possibly life-saving. And as the first responders arrived and took samples and photos and statements, Ava sat on the porch holding her daughter's favorite stuffed bear, her eyes locked on the nanny, who now sat in the back of an ambulance, her story changing by The minute her voice shaky and confused, saying she didn't know what happened, that maybe the dog was sick, or maybe the baby had something on her clothes, something he didn't like, but none of it added up. Not to Ava, not to Coda, and certainly not to the officer who pulled her aside to ask if anyone in the house had enemies. And Ava just shook her head and whispered no, not enemies, not that she knew of. And the officer nodded slowly as he dropped something into an evidence bag. Something small and thin and sharp, something pulled from the bottom of the bowl. Something that wasn't fruit or cereal or anything that should have been in a baby's breakfast. And somewhere in the distance, a dog barked once, then went silent, as if the world had just exhaled and didn't know what to do next. And if you're watching this right now, wherever you are, maybe you've got a dog curled up at your feet or one you miss dearly. Maybe your dog has done something that made you stop and wonder if they knew more than you gave them credit for. Because dogs hear things we don't, sense things we ignore. They are protectors in fur. Hearts wrapped in loyalty, and sometimes, just sometimes, they bite not because they're angry, but because they're trying to save the one thing that matters most. So before you go, tell us, where are you watching from, and what time is it over there? And has your dog ever surprised you in a way that changed everything? Let us know in the comments below, and come back for part 2 where what? The lab results revealed shocked even the investigators and changed this family's life forever. The hospital hallway smelled like antiseptic and quiet panic, the kind that lingers behind the bright white walls and nervous glances of parents who sit with coffee cups trembling in their hands, waiting for news that could change their lives. And that's where Ava found herself. Her baby girl asleep in a soft pink blanket across her lap, her husband pacing in front of the vending machines. Phone calls made and messages sent, and Coda, the dog who bit the nanny, waiting outside in the car with the windows cracked, tail still, eyes fixed on the hospital entrance as if he knew this wasn't over. Not yet, because when the officers handed Ava the evidence slip and told her the item pulled from the babies, breakfast was a small, sharp plastic shard coated in residue an industrial chemical used in certain cleaning agents and toxic in even trace amounts. Her stomach flipped in a way that no mother should ever have to feel. Because suddenly, everything normal collapsed into a question that had no easy answer. And suddenly her mind was replaying every moment Lisa had spent alone in the kitchen. Every smile, every lullaby, every little reassurance she had given. And none of it made sense anymore. And what was worse, Lisa was claiming innocence, tearfully telling police that maybe the plastic had come from the blender that she had noticed. A crack in it once and meant to throw it away, that she had no idea how anything dangerous could have ended up in the bowl. And part of Ava wanted to believe her, wanted to cling to the hope that this was all a mistake, but something deeper, something motherly and ancient and instinctive, told her no. That her dog had reacted not to noise or motion or fear, but to intent, to something hidden that no human could see. And that kind of loyalty doesn't lie. And as the nurse gently took the baby's vitals and wheeled them both into a pediatric observation room, Ava leaned her head against the white wall and let a single tear roll down her cheek. Because the truth was closing in, slow and heavy and undeniable. And by the time the toxicology team returned, escorted by a man in a dark lab coat with a clipboard and a deep frown, she already knew. She just needed the words. And the man spoke them gently, but without hesitation, telling her that the compound found in the sample wasn't just a household chemical. It was denatonium benzoate, the most bitter substance known to humans. Often used in industrial cleaners and pesticide agents, and incredibly dangerous to infants. If ingested, and it hadn't just been a tiny accident, it had been poured, mixed, disguised, and served. And Ava felt her breath catch in her throat, her arms tightening around her daughter, who stirred in her sleep and curled into her mother's warmth. And the man asked her if she had any reason to believe someone in the house could have done this deliberately, and she whispered Coda's name, not as a suspect but as a savior. And when the man raised his eyebrows, Ava explained everything: the stare, the pacing, the lunge, the bite. And the way Coda had never once behaved that way before, and the man just nodded slowly and said, Sometimes animals know before we do. Sometimes there are alarm bells when everything else is quiet, and later, when the officers returned with a search warrant for Lisa's apartment, they found a bottle in her bag, the same chemical, half full, labeled under a fake sticker. And suddenly everything spun sideways because Lisa had passed every background check, every reference call, and Ava had no idea why someone like that would ever hurt a child, especially her child. And the officer said maybe it wasn't personal. Maybe it was targeted from someone else's past. Or maybe she was never who she said she was. But what mattered now was the fact that she was in custody, being questioned. And the baby was safe, alive. It's untouched by the poison only because Coda acted with no hesitation. And when Ava and her husband returned home that evening, exhausted and hollow, they found Coda sitting at the front door, tail thumping once against the floor, not proud, not demanding, but simply present, as if to say, I did what I had to do. And the moment Ava knelt beside him and buried her face in his neck, she sobbed, not just from fear or grief, but from awe, from the quiet realization that her family had survived something invisible, something insidious, something that could have taken everything in a single spoonful. And Coda, her silent hero, had stopped it all with one act that looked violent, but was anything but. And over the next few days, news spread, headlines across the state reading Dog Bites Nanny, Saves Baby's Life, interviews requested, cameras. On the lawn, neighbors bringing flowers and treats. While Ava appreciated the kindness, she stayed quiet, because her mind was still trying to piece together how this had even started, and she wondered about trust. About how often we hand our children to strangers because they smile the right way or say the right words. How fragile everything is, until a dog reminds us what true instinct looks like. What? And if you're still with us, watching this unfold, maybe holding your own dog close right now, let us know where you're watching from and what time it is. Because this is more than just a story. It's a reminder that the ones who love us the most aren't always the ones who speak. Sometimes they bark, or pace, or bite when something isn't right. And in the next part, we'll dive deeper into Lisa's past. The shocking discovery police made that connected her to another family, another child, and the question that now haunted everyone: was this her first time, or just the first time someone noticed? The next morning came heavy with a silence that wasn't peaceful. The kind of silence that sits in the corners of a home after something traumatic has happened, when even the light through the windows feels different, slower, like the house is trying to understand what it just survived. And Ava stood in the kitchen, staring at the clean countertops, at the empty high chair. The sponge still damp in the sink where she had tried to scrub away the memory of that morning's chaos. But no matter how hard she wiped, she couldn't erase the image of Coda lunging across the room, or the sound of that bowl hitting the floor, or the shriek Lisa let out as her arm snapped back from the bite. And what lingered more than anything was the thought of what could have happened if he hadn't intervened. If he hadn't stopped her, if Ava had let that spoon go all the way to her daughter's lips. And as she made coffee, with trembling hands, her husband walked in, phone in hand, face pale, voice thin, as he told her the police had found something. That the investigation into Lisa wasn't just uncovering a few inconsistencies or half-truths. It was tearing open a much darker history. One that didn't show up on background checks or nanny websites or reference calls because it had been scrubbed clean, but not clean enough. And it started with a family in another state, a couple with a young boy who had suddenly fallen violently ill, no diagnosis, no warning, just vomiting and seizures and 3 days in pediatric ICU. And at the time, it had been dismissed as a fluke, maybe food poisoning, maybe a virus. But the parents had noticed something strange too, the way their nanny had left abruptly afterward. No notice, no forwarding address, just a text saying she had a family emergency and couldn't come back. And now, 2 years later, they saw Ava's story on the news and reached out to the police, providing an old photo they had of their nanny. And though the haircut and clothes were different, the face was unmistakable. It was Lisa, the same woman. Different name, and suddenly the investigation took on a new urgency, connecting threads across state lines, pulling open a pattern of employment that followed similar paths. Families with small children, high praise in the beginning. And then sudden illness, sudden departure, and it all pointed to someone who was either deeply unstable or hiding something much worse. And Ava felt her chest tighten with every new detail. What? Because while her baby was now safe and being monitored, there was something unforgivable about knowing you had invited danger into your home. It's not just once, but repeatedly letting her feed. "Your child, hold her, sing to her." And Ava kept asking herself, how did I not see it? How did I not feel it? But the truth was, Lisa had been perfect on paper, warm in person. The kind of woman who remembered birthdays and folded laundry without being asked, and that's why it made Coda's reaction all the more powerful. Because he had seen past the surface, past the smile, past the soft voice and patient hands, and into something deeper, something wrong. Something rotten that Ava could never have seen. And as she sat down beside Coda on the living room floor, running her fingers through his fur, she whispered, "Thank you," not once, but again and again, tears falling freely. Because how do you thank someone who saved your child's life in a way no human could? And outside the house, news vans were still parked, waiting for a statement, for footage, for anything they could use. And while Ava wasn't ready to speak to them, she watched through the blinds as neighbors left small gifts on the porch treats for Coda. She got letters of support, even hand-drawn. Pictures from neighborhood kids showing the dog in a superhero cape hand. It made her heart ache in a different way, not from fear or grief, but from gratitude. The overwhelming warmth of realizing your community stands with you when it matters most. And when the detective called later that evening to inform her that Lisa had confessed, at least partially, claiming she had been in a dark place, that she never meant to hurt anyone, Ava felt a numb kind of sadness, not for Lisa, but for all the families who trusted her, for all the children who didn't have a Coda in their home. And in that moment, she made a decision, not just to protect her family, but to share what happened in a way that might help others, that might remind people to listen to their animals, to trust that gut feeling, to be vigilant, not paranoid, but aware. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the room isn't a stranger at the door. It's someone you invited in, someone who smiles while they stir the food. And if not for one dog, one lunge, one bite, this story could have ended in tragedy. And now, if you're still here with us, if this story has made you hold your dog a little tighter, or remember one you loved and lost, tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what kind of dog you have, or had, and what they meant to you, because this is more than a video. It's a conversation. It's a shared moment between people who know that dogs aren't just pets. They are protectors, and in the next part we'll show you how Coda's actions sparked a nationwide conversation about canine instinct and human safety. How trainers, veterinarians, and even behavioral psychologists weighed in on what happened, and how the family made a decision that would take Coda's story far, beyond their small town and into the hearts of millions. The ripple effect of Coda's story began quietly, just a few articles online, a handful of shares. Local reporters capturing the moment Ava walked onto her porch with her daughter on her hip and Coda beside her, leash but calm, noble-like. He understood the weight of what he had done, and maybe he did. Because when the cameras flashed and microphones extended, he didn't flinch, he didn't bark or pull away. He simply sat beside the baby's stroller, his eyes soft and alert, as if guarding her even now. And those first photos traveled fast. Headlines that read, "Hero dog bites to save," "Canine guardian German Shepherd prevents poisoning." They spread across platforms, screenshots and hashtags multiplying by the hour. And what started as a local story turned national overnight. People across the country watching, commenting, sharing their own stories of dogs who acted strangely before something went wrong. Pets who sensed fires before smoke alarms. Dogs who woke families before medical emergencies. And Ava found herself overwhelmed. Not just by the attention, but by the outpouring of love, the handwritten letters arriving at their door. Some from children drawing Coda with capes and medals, others from veterans, mothers, even nurses who had worked with therapy dogs and swore by their instincts. And the most common message was simple: thank you for believing him. Because too many times dogs are misunderstood, punished, even put down for acting out, when all they're trying to do is protect. And Ava read those letters late into the night. Sometimes crying, sometimes smiling, always with Coda asleep at her feet. And her husband began answering calls from journalists, vet behaviorists, even nonprofits who wanted to meet them. Wanted to feature Coda's story in campaigns about responsible pet ownership and recognizing canine behavior. And as the noise grew louder, Ava remained focused on one thing, keeping her family grounded, safe and grateful, because the truth was they were still healing, still waking up with racing hearts when the baby stirred or the floor creaked, still processing how close they had come to losing everything. And yet amidst that healing, something beautiful began to take shape. Because people weren't just interested in what happened. They were moved by it, inspired. And it sparked a much-needed conversation across social media and beyond about how we interpret animal behavior. How often warning signs are ignored. How many dogs are surrendered or silenced because they react to something we don't understand. And Ava found herself pulled into that dialogue, not by choice, but by purpose. And one morning, she was invited to speak on a daytime talk show, not as a victim or a celebrity, but as a mother who listened to her dog. And when she sat on that couch beneath bright lights and cameras and told the story from the beginning, from the spoon to the bite to the bottle in Lisa's bag, the audience went silent, and by the end, they stood and clapped, not for her, but for Coda, who was backstage with a handler, his tail wagging slowly, calmly, as if to say, "I didn't do it for applause. I did it because I knew she was in danger." And after the show, a woman approached. Ava in the hallway, eyes brimming with tears, saying she had almost given her dog away last year after he barked and growled at her new boyfriend. And 2 months later, that man was arrested for assaulting a woman in another city. And now, after hearing Ava's story, she was going home to thank her dog. To really thank him, and that was the moment Ava understood this wasn't just about her family anymore. It was about all of them, every home, every child, every person. Whoever looked into the eyes of a dog and wondered what they were trying to say. And that's when she began working with a national canine behavior group, helping produce a short awareness campaign titled "Listen When They Warn," using Coda's footage, recreations of that morning's events. Even real audio from the 911 call, and it aired during prime time across several networks, leaving audiences breathless, some in tears, many in awe, and soon after. Ava was asked to write an op-ed for a major parenting magazine, not to retell the story, but to help other parents see the value in watching their dog's body language, their reactions, their changes in mood, and in that article, she wrote something that resonated deeply. Dogs don't explain themselves. They don't overthink. They react to what they feel. And if we're lucky, we'll learn to listen before it's too late, and by then, Coda had become more than a family dog, more than a story. He had become a symbol of what it means to trust instinct. And every time they walked through town, strangers would stop them, not just to pet him, but to thank him. Sometimes with tears, sometimes with quiet smiles, sometimes with their own dogs. In tow, and in the background of all this, Ava's daughter was growing stronger. Laughing again, her appetite returning, her smile wide and true, and Coda never strayed far. Always in the corner of the room, or beside the stroller, or under the table, never barking, never jumping, just present, like a shadow made of love. And if you're watching this now, and your dog has ever done something strange or out of character, pause before correcting them. Consider what they might be sensing. Because what saved Ava's family wasn't luck or training or chance, it was a bond that can't be explained, only felt. And in the next part, we'll bring this journey to a close, with the most emotional chapter of all. The decision the Harpers made to honor Coda forever, and the unexpected moment that brought the entire town to its feet. The decision came quietly, not from a place of pressure or publicity, but from a quiet morning in early spring, when Ava stood by the window holding her daughter and watching Coda asleep beneath the big oak tree in their backyard. The same tree where he used to chase butterflies as a pup, where he buried sticks and guarded their baby monitor from birds and squirrels like a soldier, with no armor but loyalty. And as she held her daughter tighter and pressed a soft kiss to her hair, she whispered that it was time to do something big, not for them, not for attention, but for every child who didn't have a coda. For every dog who wasn't believed, for every story that ended too soon because no one thought to listen. And so she called her husband into the living room that evening and said she wanted to start something new. A foundation, something simple, something honest. They named it Coda's Watch, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting families who use trained dogs for safety, for therapy, for companionship, and more importantly, to educate parents across the country on how to understand their pets, to read their body language, to see the shift before the scream, the pacing before the panic, and within weeks of announcing it, donations poured in. Not large sums from corporations, but $5 here, $10 there, always accompanied by notes like this. Is for Max, who barked until we checked the carbon monoxide detector. Or for Daisy, who wouldn't stop whining outside my son's door the night he had a seizure. Or this is for my childhood dog, Tucker, who never left my side after I came home from surgery, and each letter made Ava cry. Every story etched into her heart like a quiet echo of their own, and while the foundation took root, something unexpected happened in their own town, because the mayor called one afternoon and asked if they would attend a small ceremony at the park that Saturday. Just a simple thank you, nothing fancy, and Ava hesitated at first, but then she looked at Coda, lying on the porch in the golden sunlight, watching the world like he always did, and she said yes. And when they arrived at the park that afternoon, stroller rolling over the gravel path, her daughter giggling in the breeze, they were stunned to find hundreds of people there. Families, children, neighbors, reporters, even officers from the precinct who had handled the case, all standing beneath a blue banner that read, "Thank you, Coda." And in the center of the green beside the Veterans Memorial was a small bronze statue, not of a man, not of a soldier, but of a dog, a German shepherd, sitting tall, ears up, eyes forward, forever watchful. And it was him, it was Coda, sculpted in incredible detail, right down to the curve of his tail and the softness of his gaze. And Ava knelt beside it with her daughter in her arms, tears in her eyes, and whispered, "Thank you again." As the crowd clapped and wiped their own tears, and Coda just sat calmly beside the statue, as if he understood, as if he had always understood. And when the mayor handed Ava a key to the city and announced that April 12th would now be known as Coda Day, she smiled through her tears and said she hoped no one ever had to live a story like theirs. But if they did, she hoped they had a Coda by their side. And after the ceremony, there were photos, laughter, hot chocolate, and so many dogs running in the park that it felt like something magical, something sacred. And as the sun began to dip behind the trees, Ava looked at her family and felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not because the fear was gone, but because it had been replaced by purpose. And later that night, after the house was quiet and the baby asleep, she opened her laptop and started writing a book, not for money or fame, but for every family like theirs. And on the dedication page she typed, "For the dog who bit, not out of anger but out of love." And as Coda laid his head on her feet and drifted off to sleep, she whispered that he had saved more than just their baby that day. He had saved something in all of them, something fragile and human and brave. And if you're still watching now, if you've come with us this far, through the fear and the healing and the hope, tell us where you're watching from and what time it is there. Tell us about your dog or the one you miss. Tell us the moment. They saved you in ways big or small. Because these stories matter, they keep our hearts open. They remind us that love doesn't always come in words or gestures. Sometimes it comes in a bark or a bite or a stare that holds the weight of 1,000 instincts. And if you have a dog sleeping nearby right now, maybe give them a hug or a treat or a simple thank you, because they are watching even when we're not. They are listening even when we don't speak, and they are loving us. Always, no matter what. And that is what this story was always about. Not the poison, not the fear, but the bond. The silent promise between a family and their dog, that no matter what comes through the door, they will protect each other, always.